Hello everybody, I'm Euros Down, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about a game called Sword of Convallaria. Now this game came out on July 31st, and I picked it up day one, and I have not been able to put it down, and I just wanted to share some thoughts, impressions, and ideas about the game, and potentially inform people whether they would like to try it or not, because I would say this game is not for everybody, but I know that it's definitely for me, and I wanted to kind of share my perspective. So first of all, what is Sword of Convallaria? This game is a tactical turn-based RPG with fantasy themes, and I would say the game it is most similar to is probably Final Fantasy Tactics, which came out way back in the 90s. So if you've ever played that game, you can kind of see Sword of Convallaria as almost an homage to Final Fantasy Tactics. And what sets it apart from a lot of turn-based RPGs is character movement and the environments. So your party doesn't just stay still and take turns attacking the enemy like some of the older Final Fantasy games. You actually have to traverse the map. You can use the environment to your advantage, set traps, and take out enemies that way. Now, naturally, as an RPG, one of the core ways in which you overcome the challenges of the game is the improvement and growth of your characters, and there are plenty of ways in which you can customize your characters. So naturally there's a leveling system. You can go from level 1 to level 60, and as you do so, you can also give your characters talents and abilities that will essentially flesh out their kit and make them feel different from characters of the same type. Each character also only has several slots for their abilities, so a lot of times you'll have to make the choice of, do I want my character to take on the role of more of a support, or do I want to build them for protection or for damage? And so there's a lot of decision making to be made for your characters. There's also a gear to be found and equipped. You can, I believe, wield weapons. You can have trinkets and accessories of various types that can also sometimes give you stats or abilities. And there are items called Tarot Whispers that give your characters additional stats and can have unique effects as well. Next, I wanted to talk about the aesthetics of the game, that is, the visuals and the audio, and Sword of Convallaria has a very distinct pixelated, stylized appearance, very reminiscent of games like Octopath Traveler, and definitely meant to evoke older generation games with that nostalgia. But of course the game has very clean animations, the units all look very nice, the art is beautiful, and there's some really nice effects. On the audio side of things, I think the sound design of the game is excellent, and it really feeds into that old school aesthetic that the game is trying to convey. And I think something very noteworthy is that the soundtrack was composed by Hitoshi Sakimoto, who did the soundtrack for Final Fantasy Tactics, and I believe also Final Fantasy XII. Now, one bit of a bummer in the sound department is that there are no English dubs for the game, so you have to choose another language. I chose Japanese, and I thought the voice work was excellent. I think the characters were very emotive, and I didn't have any problems with it, but it could be a bit of a deal breaker for people who like English dubs in their games. I also wanted to talk a little bit about the story of the game, because I think the story is one of the selling points, and the interesting thing about Sword of Convallaria is that the story is a branching narrative that changes based on your decisions. So without going into too many spoilers, you make certain choices which lead to different events happening, and you'll get different endings based on your decisions. And I know that there are at least 3, if not more, major endings based on your choices, some of them good, some of them bad. And there is additional story in another mode called The Fool's Journey, which gives more character-driven story bits that kind of flesh out some of the cast. And finally, I wanted to touch on the monetization of the game, because this is a free-to-play gacha game, which for some people immediately sends up red flags, but I can honestly say that this is one of the few games out there that you can fully engage with the story and the meat of the game without having to engage with any of the gacha elements aside from the tutorial that you go through at the start of the game. Essentially, the main story of the game is contained in the mode called Spiral of Destinies, and this mode is not affected by any of the progression in the rest of the game. So you can essentially log onto the game, play the story, and not have to worry about things like daily quests, about pulling for characters, about spending stamina or resources, because you can hop into Spiral and you can play through the story and you're done. It's essentially a single player game, and the story's good, so it's definitely a selling point of the game for me and potentially for others. So to kind of wrap this whole thing up, should you play Sword of Convallaria? And of course that's really a question that only you can answer. But if you enjoy tactical turn-based games, if you like RPGs, if you like stories with branching narratives, if you like the art style, if you like old school RPGs, I would say all those are very good reasons to try the game out. Keep in mind, the game is free, it doesn't cost you anything, and you might find that it's something you enjoy. I really think the developers put a lot of care and effort into the game, and it feels like a very polished product, and it's free. So if you want to check out Sword of Convallaria, it's available on Steam, it's available on mobile, and I believe also through the Sword of Convallaria website. And that about wraps it up for this video. I hope this information was useful to somebody out there for deciding whether they want to try the game or not. And if you are out there playing Sword of Convallaria, feel free to share what you like or don't like about the game and your favorite units, because the roster is great and there's a lot of cool characters out there. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see y'all in the next one.